right, all right. Well, you want an intro or?
Yeah.
The intro? All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today on Thursday for Corrinne Ward of the Perlick Corporation.
Walenda, I got divorced.
Oh yeah, sorry. Geez, I don't know how that popped out of it.
I mean, we're still friends. It's okay, but you know.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. But welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. And that's all good. We're ready to go.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, folks. I'm going to turn off my my camera so I'm not distracting you guys. Hold on. I got to figure out how the hell to do this. Give me just a second. Stop video. There. But you still see my screen, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right. I just want to make sure. Okay. All right, everybody. We're talking about wine today. Hooray. So the next slide I created without the addition below, the initial quote, but I think we need to add this in here. Wine makes every meal an occasion, every table more elegant, every day more civilized. Andre Simon, who's a very well-known sommelier. And Corrinne says, and makes this COVID stuff more tolerable. I don't know about you all, but the folks here at City Winery in Chicago, as well as there's a BWS near my house, stands for beverage wine, beer, wine, and spirits. They are getting to know me by name as I email them my order and then come and pick it up. But hooray, let's talk about one of life's fine beverages and what Perlick can do to help you and your customers better store this, preserve it if it's more of your higher end type of wines, and make a lot of money because it is a nice, profitable adult beverage. So wine bars, and a lot of this data here is pre-COVID from Ibis World, but they were still growing pre-COVID. And the expectation is that people will have a higher tolerance, so we'll be drinking more wine. No, that's just my comment on there. But the expectation is that wine will still be a popular beverage when we all go back to bars and things like that after all this nuttiness is over. So my expectation is we're still going to see a lot of demand for that. And wine customers are also getting more smart. They truly are. Because a lot of folks don't know what the right serving temperature of wines are. Here's a hint. It's not room temperature or beer temperature. Room temperature in your neck of the woods, Florida peeps, is what, probably 78 degrees, I would guess. I wouldn't want to drink any beverage at that temperature. The proper serving temperature of wine really depends on the kind of wine that you're consuming. Your bigger, bolder reds are going to be at that upper end there in the 63 to 65 F range. And then as they get a bit lighter, things like Pinot Noirs, Côtes, things like that, the temperature goes down a bit. And then it moves on into your white wines. And as they get a little lighter in texture, for example, your Sauvignon Blancs and that are definitely very lighter white wine. They're going to get colder. There's one wine and one wine only that should be served at what we call beer temperature, which is the temperature that's in all of our refrigerators and in most back bar refrigerators, which is generally in the 39 to 40 F range. And that's only your sparkling wine. So your cavas, your Prosecco's, things like that. On this chart here, it does say 43 F, perfectly fine to serve it at 39 or 40 F for sure. You guys are happy. I'm happy to have you take screenshots if you want of this. Otherwise, I will send the Eaton folks a copy of my slides, and you are free to have these and have them as a reference. This particular serving temperature slide is really, really helpful, I think, and makes all of us much more intelligent when we're talking to our customers. And it also makes me thirsty. I don't know about you. So let's talk a little bit more about wine before we get into equipment. The best-selling wine varietals in the United States is still Chardonnay, followed by Cab Sav. Cab Sav is gaining on Chardonnay and may well take it over in 2020. You see, this actually comes to us from Nielsen, and it includes just about the last year and ending it in December. But here's the big news, is that red blends are totally surging. Red blend table wine, and here's two really nice examples here that, frankly, I like a lot, are really growing in off-premise sales, and off-premise sales, meaning the stuff that we're buying from liquor stores, et cetera. Off-premise sales are always going to influence on-premise purchases as well. I think it'll be interesting after COVID madness is over and we're back, if we see an even greater surge in red blend table wine. I have noticed that the shelves that are stocked with, especially the moderately priced stuff, your 19 Crimes, your Menage a Trois Silk, things like that, I've noticed that those people get a run on those. Myself included. But if you get a chance, or if you're on a date with somebody who has a lot of money, definitely have some of that Prisoner. It is absolutely spectacular. And that was my introduction into red blends. I think we're going to see red blends surge even more when we're all back in bars too. I apologize if you're hearing that running around up there. Maybe you're not. It's my German Shepherd. He's 110 pounds and he thinks quarantine is spectacular. Anyway, sparkling wine is doing really well, as is rosé. Interesting too, I don't have it on a slide here, but another wine type that we're seeing more and more of, that we'll continue to see more of, and the Eaton folks know this because I talked about it in a trends in adult beverages webinar that I recently did, but natural wines that are made with no pesticides and no artificial flavorings and no special yeast additives to accelerate the fermentation process are also surging. In addition, something called orange wine. A rosé is a red wine, is a red grape that's made into made in the style of a white wine, and a orange wine is a white wine grape that is made like a red wine is, where they let the skins kind of hang out for a long time in the juice and let it ferment. So those are two categories of wines to also be paying attention to as we move along. Natural wines and orange wines. Give them a shot sometimes, they're really delicious. Okay, so let's get into equipment. Far and away, my absolute favorite thing that we sell are wine drawers. I have had sommeliers tell me, you know, and I asked them, like, how do you like these wine drawers? They say, oh, I love my Perlicks. Oh, that makes me so happy. But what you get with wine drawers is great. So you've got that deeper drawer on the top, and that's designed to hold up to 30 upright open bottles of wine. Now that's 33-inch diameter bottles of wine. I understand that Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays have a 4-inch diameter wine bottle. But the good news is that the separators that are built inside of this are adjustable. So you can very easily, say it's a wine drawer that is going to be all whites, and you've got your maybe you've got a row of different Sauvignon Blancs, you've got a different row of Chablis, but then you've got a row of Chardonnays. You are able to adjust that separator to accommodate those larger bottles in there too. For all of our wine drawers, they have, again, you've got that top drawer, upright open bottles of wine. The bottom drawer holds 18 closed bottles of wine on their sides. So that's basically your backup for what you've got above it. I mentioned open because wine by the glass is still going to be a trending type of beverage. Wine by the glass is a wonderful option for people that don't necessarily have the same taste. People, perhaps they're ordering different types of food. The old adage of one must only drink red wine with a steak or something like that, those are kind of loosening up quite a bit, and people are able to do what they want. And nothing wrong with having a lighter red wine with a steak too. So I think wine by the glass is something that we should all pay attention to. And these wine drawers are lovely because not only do they keep the wine at the right temperature, which is going to help them last at least a little bit longer, but it will also keep them out of the way. It keeps that bar area very clean. Nothing makes me more sad than to see bottles of red wine on top of a back bar unit, usually above the compressor where it's kicking out a lot of nice hot air as well. Again, 70 plus degree temperature for a red wine is just not, it's not very pleasant. What I've been told from some sommeliers is that at 70 or more, the flavors of the red wine are actually blended. So you're really not even tasting all of the wine characteristics that the winery wants you to have when you're consuming that wine. So just something to keep in mind. I'm showing here a dual zone unit. So you see the first section is set at what I think it says 40 there. That's a little cold, to be honest with you. What we'll set white wine at the factory is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll set the red section at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the good news is that if you've got a sommelier that absolutely wants to hold their white wines at 47 and their reds at 58, they can absolutely make that adjustment and also lock that out with that controller there. It's a really nice option for folks, especially sommeliers like to get super particular about those kinds of things. With that drawer, you see that lock on the bottom drawer, that locks both drawers. And so you've got that one section that'll be locking. Hope that makes sense to you guys. Okay, so let's take another look at some more wine drawers. So wine drawers are available just in the BBS series. So you've got the 36, 60s, 84s, and 108s. Only the 60 unit can come in a dual zone, and I'll cover dual zones here in a little bit. The DZS units, that's the dual zones, we only make those in a 36 and a 60. One thing to keep in mind is, and I'll show you, I'll flip back to this one too, is whichever temperature is going to be the colder side needs to be the one that is closest to the compressor. So the white wine always needs to be adjacent to the compressor, the end wall grill there. Doesn't matter if it's on the right or the left, you can decide that yourself, but whatever's closest needs to be designated for the white wine temperature. We offer full extension wine shelves on all of our back bars. What's really great is that they completely can pull out. So you can see the labels of all of the wine bottles that are inside of that unit. That's very helpful if you're pulling something out and you're working really fast as a bartender. You've got all those labels facing up, super easy to make a simple choice, pull it out and go ahead and serve that. With each of our 24-inch sections, it'll hold 40 bottles. And it's available on all of the models that you see there before. By the way, BBS LP is our low profile unit. Those are only 29 inches tall. Obviously you have a little less capacity with those, but if you do need a low profile unit to hold wine, you've got a perfect option right there. By the way, the low profile units, should you have to put in an ADA section, it's kind of a nice piece of refrigeration to shove under an ADA section. So you're using that space somehow. And BBR is our remote back bar refrigeration, okay? All right, other kinds of wine refrigeration that Perlick makes, we make a lot, is what we call our H series. Now, these are the commercial versions of the wine refrigeration that we make for our residential customers. There's not much of a difference between the commercial and the residential model. I'll be honest with you, the residential model has a quieter compressor, but I have one of these at home. I have that the one all the way on the right in my house, and unless you're in front of it and can feel the warmth coming out of the bottom, you really don't even know it's on. It's really, really quiet. Although I will tell you, it's important to remember to always take that grill off and vacuum out the dog hair if you're Corrinne. So going from the left to right though, the HC24, that one is a little bit taller. I hope you noticed here that that's a 34¼ inches tall versus 32 inches for the other two. The other two are considered ADA type units, but that one on the left, that HC unit is a bit taller. What we sometimes sell this at for the residential folks are they put kegs of beer in these, one keg, very small unit, but keep in mind we can do that too. So the HC24WS has a 40 bottle capacity. The B unit, which is 24 inches deep, has 32, and the D unit, which is only 18 inches deep, holds 20. Okay, let's talk about wine on tap. Right now, there are more than 500 different wines that are kegged into stainless steel kegs. There's two companies right now that are doing this. There's one called Free Flow Wines, and they're in Napa. The other is Gotham Project, and they're out of New York State. And both of them act a bit more like a logistics company in that they bring the wine into their facility, their kegging facility, and they keg it into completely stainless steel kegs. The cool thing about wine and kegs, I think, is that it'll stay fresh for up to 90 days, even after it's tapped. When you're pushing wine out of a keg, you don't need to do things like we do with beer. You don't have to match pressures. So it actually needs very little gas on the wine to propel it out of the keg. Most places will suggest you use 75% nitrogen, 25% CO2. We also call that Guinness gas. That's what you would use to propel a porter or a stout beer. Only in long draw systems with wine do we see folks putting 100% nitrogen on those. But what's nice is that nitrogen is very inert. It's not going to add any flavors or anything like that. And the Guinness gas has so little CO2, it's not going to compromise the wine or add any carbonation that wasn't intended. Each keg of wine that is, again, it's that standard 6 still size, which is just under 24 inches tall, and it's about 9 inches in diameter. It holds the equivalent of 26 bottles of wine. And what Free Flow Wines tells me is that most of their customers who buy wine in kegs, really they go through them in just a couple of weeks. So they're not keeping them for 90 days or longer, because they're generally the really popular house wines that they're serving. This picture here is a place in Milwaukee called Pizza Man, which I realize it's not a very pleasant sounding kind of name, but it's an old Milwaukee institution. And the guy that owns it is crazy about wines and trying new things. And so they have a fair amount of really terrific wines on tap from Gotham Project. They've got 4 whites and then 4 reds. The 4 whites you see are on the left that are closest to the compressor. You want to be sure, though, if you're working with a customer that wants to do wine on tap, that you let us know that this is for wine. And so we're ensuring that all 304 stainless steel components will be used. You don't want to have your installer just use some beer equipment for that. Beer is not nearly as sensitive as wine is, because wine is more acidic. It's definitely going to be reactive, even with something like 303 stainless. So you want to be sure that you only use 304 stainless steel components with wine on tap. So here are the 2 wine on tap units that we have available that are in a direct draw type situation. The top one is what we call our DZS 36. This one is cool because it's 1 door, 2 zones, and it can hold 4 kegs. So it'll hold 2 white and 2 red. And again, remember, the colder zone is the one that needs to be closest to that compressor grill there. You can take one of the kegs out and actually locate the little bottle of Guinness gas inside of the unit as well. If, for example, you're putting casters on this and it needs to be very portable for something, say an event, a wedding, something like that, where you're just serving wine out of kegs, frankly, that makes a lot of sense. I'm rather surprised that more resorts and banquet facilities in that don't take advantage of working with wine in kegs. Seems to make a lot of sense to me, but perhaps those of you that work with the folks that have hospitality contracts know a lot more about that than I do. The other wine on tap unit that we can do is in our DZS 60. Again, we've got the white wine located closest to the compressor grill here, and the far section is the red wine, where you've got wine on tap there too. If you wanted to do even more sections with 1 temperature of wine, we could certainly do that with our BBS series, although I really haven't seen that too often. I'm usually just seeing 1 or 2 sections of a back bar unit dedicated to wine on tap, but you never know. Okay, so the next piece of Perlick equipment that's designated for wine is our wine column. So this makes what I think we're on like 8 now pieces of wine refrigeration that I've been talking to you about. What's different about this is that it's very large, and it's a very elegant piece of refrigeration, and it's really meant to not necessarily be in the back of the house, but it's really more of a front of the house type of refrigeration. I like this because it can have a millwork front. It's 0 clearance on all sides, so it can easily be put inside a beautiful millwork cabinet. And it actually fills the space in between a fancy Regal Pinnacle custom designed wine room and then a simple behind the bar cooler like what I just showed you earlier. This kind of fits in that space in between. It comes in as single zone or a dual zone. Single zone 94 bottles, dual zone 86, you see that there. The big difference with this unit is that it is highly designed for temperature and humidity control. I'm going to get into that in just a little bit here. And again, as I mentioned before, zero clearance in all sizes. It's 84 inches tall, 24 wide, 24 deep. So it's a tall, skinny thing. It's a supermodel, but it is very sturdy and it's a beautiful piece of refrigeration that does use the eco-friendly refrigerant. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this unit we use the R600A, but in all other Perlick refrigeration, we use R290. All right, so let's talk a little bit more on here. Now, I will be honest with you, some of this verbiage came from the residential side because this unit we also do sell to our residential customers through high-end appliance companies and stores and things like that. My personal favorite thing that they have here is in the upper right, and it says, soft coat, glide out shelving, gently cradles bottles. But if you think about it, if you are serving some really wonderful wine, you know, Opus One, things like that, you do want to gently cradle that wine because it's an extremely expensive bottle. The big enemies of wine are light, temperature difference, vibration. This unit takes care of all of that by very carefully preserving all of that wine. In addition, it's also got really great humidity control. Humidity is important for maintaining the quality of the cork as well as the label. If you're somebody that's spending the big bucks to buy a bottle of Opus One, that label better look pristine. Chances are somebody might even take that bottle home because it looks so pretty. So having that 65 to 70% relative humidity inside of these units is absolutely critical. We also have really cool LED lighting in this. I hope you have had a chance to see an example of this unit. It comes in white, but you can also on the fly change it to blue. You can also change the lighting so that it dims when you close the door and it brightens when you open it. And there's all kinds of different adjustments in between for how bright or how dim you want those lights to be. Looks really great. One thing that I always like to tell people too is that everything is soft closing. I don't know about you, but I think everything in life, if it can be soft close, it should. It's just so much more pleasant to close that. You'll also notice that these the fronts of all of the slide out shelves are not wood. That's an important distinction. Wood and wine is actually a really bad combination. Wood can have all kinds of funky things in them that can come out in refrigeration that could end up damaging not only the wine, but just the bottle and things like that. Wood is kind of funky and it's not an inert material. So you don't want to use wine inside a wine preservation column. Also, there is a display shelf. You can kind of see it towards the middle. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but this is the display shelf here. You can actually tilt the bottles at a 45-degree angle. So if you do have it in a display situation where people are walking by, you can absolutely put those wines that you really want to heavily market in that display shelf. Looks pretty cool. Let's talk about the glass that we use in this wine preservation column. Again, the big enemies of wine: vibration, temperature variance, and light. It's called light strike if light ends up damaging either wine or beer, frankly. What we have on our door is a triple pane, heavy duty, UV resistant window combination, glass combination that has low E and it's argon filled. So it's a super sturdy, well insulated door. A lot of folks have asked me, hey, what's the difference between this and that unit that I see at Costco for $3,800 or something? That unit at Costco weighs about 225 pounds. Our door on this unit weighs about 225 pounds. That unit at Costco is made of a lot of plastic, and it definitely does not have triple pane, low E, argon-filled doors that are super heavy. If you remember, I'll go back to the previous slide. If you can take a look at that hinge it's not the, where I could probably show you guys a better picture of that hinge, but that is a super heavy duty hinge that's on that door. Pretty cool. And in case you're wondering, the door is not field reversible, so make sure you order the swing going the right way. As you can see in this image here, you can absolutely push this right into a millwork cabinet. As a matter of fact, you can even specify this as a millwork ready door. And that millwork ready door looks like that. So what you have here, and again, this is a unit that's going to be put inside a millwork cabinet. So see, you have just kind of your plain sides, and then you've got this steel front that has these these notches in it, and those are for the millwork guy to add some clips that actually will just pop straight in there. I never would have thought that would have been so easy to do, but I actually had to do it myself one time and put a millwork door on it, and it could not have been any easier. So that is what a millwork ready door looks like. And again, you're seeing pictures that have, some of them have white light, some of them have blue light. Remember, all units have the ability to have white or blue light at any time. The customer can decide to change that on a daily basis if they want. So that's about it for our wine. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys about one of the best beverages there are, especially during this COVID crisis. I'll open it up. If anybody's got any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself. And I will try to turn my camera back on.
Right.
Any questions?
Any questions out there? I think I did see one from, I got one from Alberto. What is the biggest enemy of wines?
It's vibration, temperature variance, and light.
Awesome.
What's nice about wine and kegs is it mitigates all of that stuff.
I think that's it, but I wanted to fill everybody in. Well, first of all, thank you very much for doing this for us today. This is very cool. I wanted to let everybody know, usually on Friday, we do a Eating in the Kitchen live, and we do a Facebook live presentation. We are going to have Chef Rick over here on the Middleby Marshall CTX tomorrow. If you can, I would love for everybody to follow us on our new Eating in the Kitchen Facebook group. We'll be broadcasting it live on that in a watch party. And what was the other thing I needed to say?
If you've missed any of our previous webinars, I have been uploading all of them to our YouTube channel. So if you want to send them out or share them or rewatch them, if you just type in Eat and Marketing on YouTube, it'll pop up our YouTube channel. So yeah, we'll also be posting other content on there as well. But as of right now, it's all of our past webinars for the past couple weeks.
So, well, thank you very much, Corrinne.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Good seeing you. You too. Take care, everybody.
Have a good afternoon. Take care.
You
Be
too.
well.
Thank you.